What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. We're back in Historic with another Abzan list. And this one is built around a jumpstart card, Witch of the Moors. It's a 5 mana, 4/4, Death Touch. Beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and you return up to one target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So Abzan obviously has a lot of kind of Undergrowth themes to it, where you kind of fill up your graveyard with like self-mill and things like that. And just creatures otherwise synergize really well. And even with life gain as well. So we're trying to take advantage of this card as much as possible without being all in, like 100% all in on it. We are running 4 copies, so obviously we do want to get as much value off of this as we can, but we can win without Witch of the Moors, which I've certainly done in playtesting. But yeah, super fun card. I haven't seen anybody else showcase this card, and any other content creators. No one's really talked about this card or featured this card in their decks, and this kind of feels like it's being a little bit slept on. It seems like it's a really decent card. Not super competitive, obviously, or anything, but we're going to play it in some ranked because I think it's decent enough. So yeah, all 4 copies here of this. It's not legendary, so we can have multiples out and get multiple triggers, which is pretty cool. Alright, so we've got 2 copies here of Eliminate and Restore Creatures, Planeswalkers, 3 Mire Tritons. It gains you life, which of course will trigger our Witch of the Moors, mills a couple cards, which we can get back with Witch of the Moors, and it's got Death Touch. A couple copies of Chevill, 1/3 Death Toucher, of course, put counters on an opponent's creatures, and whenever that creature or planeswalker dies, we get to gain life and draw a card. So gain life obviously triggers a witch. 3 copies here of Glowspore Shaman, mill 3 cards. We can get a land back. Since we're running 3 cards, it's always nice to have that option for fixing or a ramp, things like that. Gorging Vulture, it's a 2/2 flyer, gains us life for each creature card we mill, and mills 4 cards. So obviously we're going to get 1 or 2 creatures typically off of this, and that'll trigger, of course, our Witch of the Moors, and also fill up our graveyard with creatures we can get back with our Witch of the Moors. 2 copies here of Midnight Reaper, just a nice card draw engine here. Mythos of Nethroi, one of my favorite removal spells, be able to destroy any non-land permanent at instant speed for 3 mana. 2 copies here of Night of Autumn. We can gain life, we can put counters on it to make it a 4/3, or we can destroy an artifact or enchantment. So we do have some nice versatile removal here with Mythos of Nethroi, but also have a couple copies of Night of Autumn. Also, the gain life is probably going to be mostly what we're looking at. But it just kind of depends on what we're matched up against. Obviously, we're at shrines or a field with like Golos, things like that. We can obviously we can destroy those things with Knight, and we have additional one in the sideboard to help out with that as well. 1 copy here of Twilight Prophet. It's only really good once you have the City's Blessing. If not familiar with City's Blessing, it's when you have 10 permanents of any type. You have the City's Blessing, and that you have the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. So she's a 4 mana 2/4 flyer, Vampire Cleric. Pretty cool creature type. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, you reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life, you gain X life, where X is that card's converted mana cost. So it's just another way to draw to gain you life, and it also draws you a card. So whatever that card is, you basically put it into your hand. If it's a land, obviously it doesn't really trigger for any life loss or gain, but anything else is going to trigger, and it's going to get your Witch of the Moors activated on your end step, and just card advantage. It's pretty fantastic. 2 copies here of Vraska's Contempt, gains you life while exiling a creature or planeswalker. 3 copies here of Basilica Bell-Haunt. We're a 3-color deck, so the double white, double black can be a little bit tricky to pull off on curve. So just 3 copies I don't think you want on all 4 of, because sometimes you're not going to have that 4th color that you're looking for to cast this. But having it come down and forcing your opponent to discard a card, gain some life, and having a 3/4 body down is just relevant in a lot of situations, a variety of situations. 2 copies here of Sorin, +2 to deal 1 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and giving you lifelink on all of your creatures, and of course itself. So that +1, assuming that +2 will deal 1 damage, and you'll gain 1 life for the lifelink here on Sorin's passive ability, and then -X to get any of your creatures back. It does have to be equal to obviously the loyalty, so there's only so many things you can get when this comes down, but if you +2 it and your Sorin is still around at 6 loyalty the following turn, you can get a Witch or a Gargaroth back. So we've got the 4 Witch of the Moors, and I also got 2 copies here of Elder Gargaroth. It's a 5 mana 6/6, vigilance for each trample, and whenever it attacks or blocks, you get to make a 3/3 beast, which might do sometimes. We can gain some life, which is obviously what we're trying to do, or we can draw a card, which is always never a bad thing, I should say. And 1 copy here of Erebos Invention. Life gain removal is pretty sweet. Especially something scalable, so not like a Moment of Craving or something like that, where it's pretty limited. It's like -2/-2. So Erebos Invention just nice scales up so you can hit bigger creatures, and being able to exile your opponent's graveyard as well. certainly relevant in lots of matchups. Obviously, we're trying to abuse our graveyard, and then you have obviously escape cards and whatever else your opponents might be up to. So 25 lands, because we do want to make sure we curve out to our 5 drops and things like that. So we got 1 Plains, 1 Castle Locthwain, 2 Swamp, 1 Forest. All the shocklands here in Godless Shrine, Overgrown Tomb, and Woodland Cemetery. I'm also running 4 of Isolated Chapels. We do have quite a bit of, obviously, white and black, with things like Basilica Bell-Haunt and even things like Sorin. We also have all 4 of the Triomes. Because we don't even turn 1 play, so we're fine with having that Triome in our opening hand. And once we get to like 5-6 lands, we don't really need more than that, so we can obviously cycle this in the late game if we draw into it. Sideboard here, we got 3 Thoughtseize, just kind of a must. If you're in black and you're playing Historic, you need to craft this card. If you don't have it already, try to work your way towards crafting these as quickly as you can. Obviously, you can just play Duress or something like that if you don't have these. 2 Grafdigger's Cage, shuts down Muxus and things like that. This is obviously being recorded before the ban announcement on Monday, so at the time this releases, this card may not be as relevant, but we'll see what the bans are and how they actually do impact the Historic format. But for now, Grafdigger's Cage is something to consider. Obviously, Scavenging Ooze, being able to gain life while exiling cards from your opponent's graveyard typically. Could be your own if you need to. Get an activation and maybe exile. If you have already tons of creatures, you don't necessarily need to get a Glowspore Shaman back or Mire Triton, whatever. You're fine with exiling that, putting a counter on it, and getting some life. Virulent Plague, obviously, is for the Field of the Dead decks, but we'll see if that one gets banned. Ashok here to exile our opponent's graveyard, and also being able to shut them down so they can't, Golos to search up lands and whatever other search abilities your opponent is trying to do. 1 more Night of Autumn. 1 Settle the Wreckage. This is a pretty clutch spell. There's always super aggressive decks, and if you can hold up white mana for Settle the Wreckage, sometimes your opponent will play around it, but there's a lot of newer players, and they might just swing all, and you'll just Settle the Wreckage and wipe out their entire board, and you don't lose anything on your side. A couple copies of Ritual of Soot. We obviously don't mind if our 2 and 3 drop creatures die, because we're just going to get them back later on, Witch of the Moors if we need to, things like that. And there's plenty of mono white, mono whatever decks that we want to be able to have board wipes for. And 1 copy here of Vraska. She's fantastic in just a variety of situations, especially the fact that she gains life, so it kind of suggests what we're trying to do already. It's pretty fantastic. So that's the deck. We'll jump into some matches, see how it goes. Alright, against Eoluzino. One lander. Can't keep that. I mean, Glowspore can get us a land. But I think we'll just ditch a Gorging Vulture. So Triome into Cemetery, get our Glowspore Shaman down, see where we're at. Another land. Alright. Wow, 2 lands off the top, so obviously we don't need any lands with our Glowspore Shaman. Decline. Wow, 3 of our Isolated Chapels. Okay. Well, we milled a Witch of the Moors, not something we want to see. That's fine. Probably just Gorging Vulture here, unless they play something like that. Pay Abzan colors. And we can destroy any non-land permanent. Alright, so we bottomed a Gorging Vulture and we drew into another one, so not ideal. Spawn. Switch this is mono black, I guess. Maybe we can jump block it, but probably just hold off. So we can, in theory, double block next turn. Can't attack into that. Alright, so obviously the spawn mayhem is going to be a little bit of an issue. We'll see what they follow it up with, though. Obviously we'll just take this, we'll get our second Gorging Vulture down, and hopefully we can double block. But odds are they'll probably have some removal if they're in mono black. I'm guessing it's some kind of a devotion list, but you don't typically see spawn in those devotion lists. It's more of an aggro card. Yeah, we'll get our second Gorging Vulture down. Not sure why they didn't attack there. We'll not do anything too crazy on our end. Where they need to hold back the spawn for blocks. Oh, okay, they just want to Massacre Worm. Now our board's empty, they get a swing in, and we don't really have answers for that. Okay. So they just wanted to Massacre Worm, that's why they didn't attack. That's cute. Alright, well, we do have a settle. I'll take out the Twilight Prophet for settle. I probably want these Thoughtseizes too to get rid of if they're running big plays like Massacre Worm. Eliminate's gonna hit Ayara, but we don't see anything else. Ayara is definitely something we don't want our opponent to have. Let's take out an Intervention. And I guess we'll take out the Eliminates. We have the Mythos, we have the Settle, the Contempt, and hope that's good enough. So kind of awkward start from our end. Even though they started a little bit slow, they were able to get just the right cards they needed. Alright, so we're missing another white source for the Bell-Haunt. Probably go Glowspore Shaman. Let's do play a creature. No creature. Glowspore, and if we find a white source here, we'll grab it. Did not. Okay. So we're kind of milling stuff we don't really want to mill. Foul Knight as a 1/1. Sure. Well, we'll play Chevill. Play a Tomb Tact. There you go. Well, we can't Sorin next turn, but we could get it back in Midnight Reaper. That's going to be a ton of damage if they Massacre Worm us again. Because we're going to be taking damage off the creature's dying Massacre Worm, and then we'll be taking damage off Midnight Reaper triggering to draw his cards. So maybe not ideal. We'll see though. Still a 6 mana play, so we got time to figure that out. So if we have to Mythos here, we'll Mythos. Otherwise, we'll probably just Sorin. Unless we find a white source, maybe we can just Bell-Haunt. Got a ton of cards in hand. Arena. Arena is so much card advantage. I think we'll just have to get rid of that. So maybe we should have brought in another Knight of Autumn to deal with that, so we can hold up Mythos for other things. And now I think we attack. If they want to block and trade, we just get to draw a card. If they attack for one, we're not going to block their Death Toucher anyway, so that's fine. See a Spawn of Mayhem here again. Oh, they're looking at our Chevill, so maybe they have some removal. Knight of the Ebon Legion. Well, there's our Witch. Unfortunately, we don't really have good answers for that. So let's Sorin. Let's get back to Midnight Reaper. Always kind of chump block, keep our Sorin around a little bit. We could always maybe plus and just try to Gargaroth next turn. We'll Midnight Reaper and try to draw into something. Although they have some removal for like a Murderous Rider or something like that, so they can probably deal with our Sorin anyway. I got mana open to activate the Knight of Ebon Legion too, so we'll see what their plan is here next turn. Some kind of instant speed effect they're trying to decide on. I'm not really sure what it is. They were looking at our Foulmire Knight and kind of looking at everything here. So they're trying to decide which creature to kill, or which permanent. So it is a Murderous Rider, right? And kill the Midnight Reaper. Sure. Let's take up the draw card. It's a land, so we get our Witch down next turn. Probably lose our Sorin, but oh well. It's a mono blacklist, they have tons of removal, or you should expect them to have lots of removal. Obliterator. Yeah, I'll take a card. Isolated Chapel. Alright. That's plus.
What a mess I
A Witch. Get back a Gargaroth. Goes to our hand. They have to sacrifice something. Probably the knight, I would assume. Yep. So if they attack with Phyrexian Obliterator, we're not going to block because then we have to sacrifice a bunch of permanents. We could we could block it with Chevill, and the Death Touch would kill it. And we'd sacrifice one permanent. We have all these lands anyway, so it's probably not a terrible plan. We'll see if they attack though. Obviously, we're not blocking with Witch. They could have removal for Chevill as well. Nightmare Shepherd. Well, that's pretty terrible. We do get to draw a card. We have to exile it. But it's just a 1/1 now. And we'll get rid of the swamp. We just Gargaroth. And plus. No attacks. We want to keep our. You want Midnight Reaper? Or Chevill? What's Midnight Reaper? It represents a little bit more long term value. Chevill is good when you have lots of targeted removal. We don't have anything in hand, so let's get the Midnight Reaper back. So you have a 1/1 Phyrexian Obliterator. What are you going to do? Gray Merchants. Well, we got a ton of life gain on our list. Well, it's Bell-Haunt. Nice 3/4 down. So play a Mire Triton. Get some more stuff in our graveyard. Good minus, but there's not anything we want to get back at this point, so we'll just plus. And say go. So back to our hand. I guess we'll go for the Chevill. Lose their gray. 6 lands in play, so we could block the Obliterator with a Mire Triton. But odds are they don't bother attacking. Oh yeah. Alright. Anything I want to do differently here? I probably want another knight to deal with that Phyrexian Arena. I think we'll have to drop a Vulture to make room for that. Thoughtseize didn't really come into play there, but still probably want to keep it. Get rid of their grave before they can trigger that. Maybe get rid of Obliterator before they cast it. Some Murderous Riders. Still lots of good targets. Missing white. We can use one white source. Well, we need two white sources for this. Yeah, it's a little awkward, a little slow. We'd have the Thoughtseize, but I don't think that's good enough. So keeping this, and we'll ditch the Vulture. So we got Glowspore that can kind of get us another land maybe, so we can Vraska something. Obviously works fantastic against Obliterator, so hopefully they have the Obliterator. With a Gargaroth, we definitely want to find some lands for that as well. We have all the black we need for these, we just need another green source. So hopefully we mill some kind of a green-based land. Triome, Tomb, Cemetery, anything with green in it would do. And we'll likely naturally just draw another land here within a couple turns to cast this potentially on curve. So now shaping up to be fantastic. Ooh, and a Witch of the Moors. Where do we mill? Oh, don't want to see that. Don't want to see that. I think we'll actually keep it. You want green, but the Midnight Reaper coming down, we'll probably just start drawing some stuff anyway. Alright, Knight of the Ebon Legion, we're going to attack. I have third land, so they can activate. If they want to attack, activate, that's fine, we'll take it. No blocks here. Want to get our Midnight Reaper down first so we can draw a card. They have Yara or Phyrexian Arena. Gets a little awkward. We don't have immediate answers for that. Our opponent is really taking their sweet time over there. Didn't realize their deck was that complicated. Keep the Glowspore back on defense. Alright, this arena represents tons of card advantage. And if we don't have an answer for it very soon, then they probably just draw everything they need and kill us. Alright, let's go to Vyara. I think we kind of have to. Maybe. Let's put some pressure on them, hit them for 6. Especially with the Phyrexian Arena taking down their life total. They kind of have to find like gray or something like that to have a chance. So maybe they don't find it. They always do though. But we'll always try to put some pressure on the life total. With 1 mana open, I don't think there's really any downside to attacking here. They can activate it next turn, but you know, we're at 19, so we're not too worried about it. We have some life gain with the Mire Triton and potentially Elder Gargaroth. Sir Conrad, that's cute. It's more of a combo card, not sure why they're finding it so impressive here. Knight of Autumn, beautiful. Alright, so we're stuck on lands here, but that's fine. We still have Knight, Mire Triton, things like that. Obviously, untapped land will be amazing. Get these cards going. We probably just Gargaroth first, and then Witch. So we get some life gain triggers. Great Merchant. Alright, let's play the Triton. Of course, we're gonna mill some lands. Nope. So hopefully that means we draw some lands then. That'd be nice. Alright, so we got the Death Touch down, so they don't have good attacks. And Bolas the Citadel. 18 life. So that's exactly why we kept Knight of Autumn, to blow up any more stuff like that. Alright, so Knight of Autumn. Destroy. No blocks. Or no attacks. Alright, exile a card from our hand. Glowspore, hope for land. Glowspore Shaman would have been a nice way to actually get a land, but there we go. Alright, so we can't Gargaroth since we're missing green, but we will get this Witch down. No attacks. Okay, reach middle to land. Seems like a lot of work to play Sir Conrad with a Grey Merchant. Doesn't seem worth it. Yeah, our opponents kind of had some pretty good answers. Grey's pretty stupid that it can just gain you so much life and everything out of nowhere. We'll get that last card out of their hand, or try to. It's probably just a land. So yeah, Thoughtseize not really doing much here at this stage of the game. No Castle Locthwains, no green mana. Yeah, we're not going to win this one. We did get to showcase the Witch of the Moors at least, so that was pretty cool. But you can see how this one's going, so we'll just concede. It's not really worth it. I mean, they just play a gray and they just hit us for a ton of damage. Alright, up against Dork. Sounds okay. Let's have a 3-drop creature and some good removal. Should be able to cast this Bell-Haunt with this mana. Also lead with Triome and hope for some good draws. Force into Llanowar. So that could be a number of things. Golgari. So it could be Elfball, could also be like a Explorer. A couple of the Citadel Wild Growth Walker shenanigans. And I love these Amonkhet background. Okay. Steel Leaf Champion. Multiple colors. You're running Steel Leaf Champion. That's impressive. Let's let them think they have a creature. I don't think they have. Could be running Ranger's Guile or something. We'll see. Might get punched. Elvish Clan Caller. Sure. Take 2 from the Llanowar. Vraska's Contempt. Just get the Bell-Haunt down. Nice 3/4 body. It's a card out of their hand. It's a Marwyn. Wow, that's cool. So they probably have another one? Or they're stuck on lands, maybe? Well, they have Llanowars. They have mana to cast it. And they shock in Overgrown Tomb to play another Steel Leaf Champion and keep the Llanowar Elves on defense. Sure. Let's play you. Yeah, just hold up Contempt. They don't seem to be running protection spells, so we'll just let them think they have a good attack here with a Steel Leaf. Might affect the way they sequence this. Been pretty fortunate to have answers for the Steel Leaf. Visionary draws a card. Probably need to deal with this. Oh, that's nice. Probably need to deal with this Clan Caller soon. Guess we attack. Try to pressure their life total. We have a 4/4 Death Toucher, so probably don't have good attacks. Nope. Gorging Vulture, gain us some life, please. So they're 1 mana from activating the Clan Caller. Wow. Yeah, 6 mana. So I'm actually gonna swing both. If they try to double block, we'll absolutely Mythos something. Collected Company. That's cute. Of course they're running that card. Does this card get banned in Historic at some point? Maybe. 4 mana instant speed. Steel Leaf Champion. Sure. What do you got? Let them block first. So we lose our Bell-Haunt. But we kill that. We kill another creature. We trigger. I think I want the Twilight Prophet. So they do have double clan color, but now they're down to four mana. Gargaroth. I gotta love that. So probably have another. They're an elf ball. They didn't play anything. Not even a land, so I'm guessing it's just another collected company. Seems pretty obvious. So I'm gonna play a Twilight Prophet and swing with a Vulture. Collect company response. Nope, just gonna take 2 and then do it on end step. There you go. Yeah, pretty obvious collected company there. They get 2 Elvish Archdruids. So yeah, they got some beefy elves. So definitely want to bring in Settle the Wreckage and things like that. Fierce Empath. To get a Craterhoof Behemoth. That's cute. Do we have an answer for that? Not really. So X is the number of creatures you controlled. Can they hardcast that? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, no, we have 4. Well, wait. Are these tap for mana? They do. Yep. So they can cast an extra one with the Archdruid. And then they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll get +6/+6. That's probably enough to kill us. That Craterhoof is a pretty stupid card. Alright. Okay, opponent. So they swing in for a million. Let's see, and now have trample. Yep. Cool. You play elves and Craterhoof Behemoth. You're amazing. All right. Obviously, want Ritual, Settle. You can't really Thoughtseize it because they're just going to get it away. They're just going to get it other ways, tutor it up with finales or other things like that. Knight isn't too impressive. Take out the Twilight Prophet. Probably Erebos Intervention. Sorin even good here? I mean, it triggers the Witch, so maybe. Sometimes they run ley lines. Vraska could be decent removal as well. I'll bring in Vraska. She needs a little more interaction. Maybe we just cut the Sorins. Try like that. So yeah, if you don't have a good answer for Elf Ball, they can just run over you. But if you have sweepers and things like that, then you should be fine, which we do. So we have to mulligan, obviously, 2 lands. Obviously, we can keep this. I don't need a million Glowspore Shaman, so we'll just keep 1. Play the Triton first to fill up our yard with more stuff. We bottom one and we found another one. We'll just get the Triton down. So we get some lands, but they're white-black lands. So we need some more green, would be nice. Another Godless Shrine. Right. Well, we'll Glowspore Shaman again, try to find some green manas. Double Witch Beam. No, that's unfortunate. Alright, so next turn, yeah, we can shock in and play Chevill and Glowspore. Yeah, not feeling too good here. Love to see a Ritual of Soot or something. And by see it, I mean I don't want it to be milled. Okay. Do you really need to hold priority on these cards on the stack? You don't have counter spells. You're gonna kill something in response. Alright, well there goes a Vraska. I don't think we want. I mean, we do need 5 lands eventually, but we just need to find Ritual of Soot or Settle the Wreckage. Pretty much anything. Let's probably have Collected Company here. Yep. We need to find a sweeper here in the next turn or two, or we're just dead. Yeah, pretty linear deck, but hard to stop it. Okay. You got us. So we have answers, but just weren't able to draw into them in time. Collected Company, obviously pretty busted card. Greater Hoof Behemoth, pretty stupid as well. But, you know, we have answers, but just weren't able to find them. Obviously, if you're in Historic, you do need things like Settle the Wreckage because there's always a bigger fish. No matter how aggro you think you are, there's always another deck that can be even more aggressive than you. Ritual of Soot obviously deals with a lot of the elf or mono red or any of that type of shenanigans. But, yeah, we just didn't find it. You know, as a sideboard card has a 2 of, so just it's going to happen. That's why those decks are so good, because you side into them and you don't draw it, and they just run over you with Greater Hoof Behemoths and stupid stuff like that. Especially when we're running a kind of a more fair list like this, it's hard to keep up with those value engines. But yeah, lots of nice life gain synergies here for the Witch of the Moors. Pretty fantastic in the deck that it did, in the matchup where it did go off against the mono black. But obviously, it's not the most competitive list. I think it's good enough to play in ranked, but it's not necessarily good enough to like, get you all the way to Mythic or anything like that. But mostly, I just want to highlight Witch of the Moors. I think it's a really sweet card, and hasn't really seen a whole lot of play from what I can tell. And yeah, I think it's a really fantastic value engine. Obviously, it goes to your hand, not to your the battlefield, which would be pretty busted. But still a pretty sweet card, especially if you enter the battlefield triggers like Knight of Autumn and things like that. Witch of the Moors is pretty sweet. And yeah, pretty happy with how this list lines up with the Sorins and some of the other value creatures, because Gargaroth gains you life or does other things as well. And that's kind of the whole point, is you don't want to be all in on just trying to gain life to trigger this, because those decks tend to be you tend to play kind of suboptimal cards. They don't necessarily work as well against this. Like a Knight of Autumn can gain you life, or it can do other things as well. Gorging Vulture gains you life when it comes down. Mire Triton gains you life when it comes down. Chevill gains you life when creatures with bounty counters on them die. And it's got Death Touch as well. So just 2 copies feels pretty reasonable, since we're not running a ton of targeted removal. And same thing with Bell-Haunt with gaining you life. So if you're interested in this deck, obviously Witch of the Moors is rare, so it's a little hard to do on a budget, since it's kind of what it's built around. But it is pretty decent Abzan shell if you want to kind of play around with something like this with Sorin and some of the kind of Undergrowth themes with like Glowspore Shaman, Mire Triton, milling yourself. Some alternatives would be obviously you could play like Golden Demise instead of Virulent Plague, especially if Field gets banned. Questing Beast is obviously always a good card to put in. We're mostly black, obviously. We have mostly black in our mana base and our spells, but you could maybe tweak it a little bit to get the Questing Beast, so you could feel pretty confident being able to cast that on curve when you need to. So you could kind of tweak things a little bit. Maybe even Mangara, since it's a lifelinker. Shall because it gives you all your other creatures and planeswalkers hexproof. It could be an option. You can also bring in some additional removal like Cast Outs or Ixalan's Binding. And there's also some additional life gain options with like Ill-Gotten Inheritance, Sangromancer, and Cub Warden. But we're not really running a whole bunch of Mutate synergies for Cub Warden, so I don't think that's really worth it. But obviously it's a lifelink creature that makes 1/1 lifelink creatures, so obviously having bodies with lifelink that you can attack in with like 1/1 tokens you can just throw away. You don't necessarily mind if they die. Obviously if you don't have Vraska's Contempt, if you're maybe a little bit newer, Ixalan's Binding is uncommon and also is exile removal, but also for any null land permanent, and then also has upside if your opponent can't cast any other spells with that name, so it shuts them down from being able to play a particular card. Cast Out just came out from the Amonkhet block. You can flash it in, so that's pretty cool. You can also cycle it away if it's not relevant at that particular time, and you can still exile any non-land permanent, so that's pretty sweet. But as far as some of the life gain, Ill-Gotten Inheritance I don't know if it's quite good enough. I mean, obviously it does trigger. You want like repeatable life gain triggers for your Witch of the Moors, and so this is certainly one way to do that. So I could see maybe running 1 or 2 copies. I'm not really sold on it, so I'm not running it. But I didn't test it out either, so maybe it's worth looking at. But and that's a common, so it's obviously pretty budget friendly as well. So it's a good option if you're interested in this style of list, because it's going to just automatically trigger the life gain every upkeep, and at 4 mana with the activated ability here for 6 mana to potentially kill your opponent has some pretty decent upside here as well. Sangromancer though, I'm not really sure fits. It's a rare, so it's obviously not very budget friendly, but it's a jumpstart card, so if you open these from playing jumpstart events, it could be a way to kind of get some value off of it. Especially maybe like in terms of like replacing a Twilight Prophet with it, because it maybe fills a similar function. It's a 4 mana 3/3 flyer, which is, it's okay. But whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you can gain 3 life. So that'll trigger your Witch. And if they discard a card, you can gain 3 life. Obviously, we do have some removal to kind of kill your opponent's creatures, but maybe not quite enough to make this worth looking at. And we don't have discard either. So you'd have to really kind of tweak the deck if you want a little bit more to kind of get value off of this. So I don't think it's quite worth it, but maybe. Other things would be like Bane Slayer Angel, but I like the Gargaroth though, just for the versatility on it. Having all these triggered abilities is pretty fantastic, especially when it's an attack or block, so it could be on your turn and your opponent's turn. You get value off of this, so it's pretty cool. And yeah, it's just a little bit bigger body at 6/6 instead of a 5/5. Obviously, the Angel has flying, but they're both mythics, so it's kind of like whatever, maybe just based on whatever you have in your collection. And you can also bring in some Murderous Riders as well for some spot removal, because it has a life-linking body as well, so that'd be a nice trigger for it. And the other card, somebody you may not be familiar with, is didn't do that right. Oh, just get rid of that. There we go. Fountain of Renewal. It's from M19. It's a 1-mana artifact. At the beginning of upkeep, you gain 1 life, and then you can pay 3 to sack and draw a card. So it's not really a very good card. I have seen play in previous. When it was back in Standard, saw a little bit of play in some of those life gain decks and things like that. So it could be a way to kind of have repeated life gain, similar to like Ill-Gotten Inheritance. And it's an uncommon, so it's like a budget option. But I just don't think it's really quite good enough, because we do have other ways of winning without, Witch of the Moors. We have some good creatures here, and some decent enough removal. So this is kind of how I've been running it. It's definitely room to kind of tweak this based on your collection, your preferences, and whatnot, but yeah, it's been a pretty fun list. It's kind of nice to see it at least go off once, but obviously it's not the most competitive list, but it is pretty solid in my opinion. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, make sure you jank with a purpose.